Yo, what up, street gods? Eric Kim, alright, Turbo Thought. So this one is, we are the new Trojans. So what does that mean? We are the new Spartan 300s. Right, so what that means is allow yourself to become more of a Spartan. So like the best movie I've ever watched was probably the movie 300. You know, this is Sparta, right? And the reason why I loved it was it's probably the most like manly film I've ever watched. If there's only one movie I had to keep, it probably that movie, because my thought on what makes a good movie is a movie that kind of like pumps you up, juices you up, and actually motivates you and provides some sort of, you know, epic role models, right? So the ancient Spartans, right? Like, and this is obviously Frank Miller / Zack Snyder's rendition of it, where all they have when they're in battle is their bronze helmets with the horsehairs, you know, bare chest. They have their spear and their shield, maybe a sword on the side. They essentially have flip-flops. I have my modern day version, the Vibram 5-finger shoes, and they're essentially wearing Speedos. And then they got the cape. I don't got the cape yet, but anyways, so what would a Spartan do? No, not what would Jesus do, not WWJD. What would a Spartan do? WWSD. And so for example, right? Would a Spartan own a car? No, right? Would a Spartan spend a bunch of their money and time on superfluous things which are not pertaining to battle or physical training, etc.? Don't think so. Would Spartans complain about, you know, poor conditions or the cold or inequalities? No, they either go into battle or not, right? And to an ancient Spartan, the most glorious death was death in battle, and didn't even really matter whether you won or not. It was just more of a whether you exhibited the utmost courage in face of the enemy. So even the ancient Spartan 300s, right? Believe it or not, it's actually based on a real thing, right? They are valorized and immortalized forever because, you know, King Leonidas and his Spartan 300, the most elite fighters that the world has probably ever seen, went up against like 1 million plus Persians, and, you know, eventually died because there was a traitor. You know, the Hunchback is actually based on a real dude who actually did betray them. Instead of going through the hot gates, they found a side thing. Who knows, maybe they could have gone a lot better. But anyway, it doesn't matter really who wins or not. It's just more like what are you willing to stake your life and your soul on? And I think it is actually quite honorable when one believes in something so deeply that they are willing to exhibit the greatest amount of courage to uphold it. So out of all the modern day thinkers, philosophers, etc., probably Nassim Taleb is the only one who has any BALLS. Or Kanye West, actually, to say what's really on his mind and to share personal details. Even actually, so Jimmy, even where a Jay-Z, I think, is less courageous. Okay, so now that I think about it, right? Like, I rank Kanye way higher than Jay-Z, because even though Jay-Z is probably the better rapper or businessman, whatever, I don't think Jay-Z has ever said anything super duper controversial, which has put him in a negative position, because I think Jay-Z cares more about money than what he really thinks. And somebody who used to have courage was Eminem, but now he's gone too soft, having to apologize every time he says something inappropriate. Anyone who has to apologize about nothing tends to lack courage, I think, unless somebody got caught. And I think the reason why a lot of modern day people, have ennui, or kind of like bored, depressed, or kind of like lack purpose in life, or existential dread, or whatever, I think it's because people lack some sort of greater life purpose or mission. And the hard thing, in truth be told, in modern day life is we almost have too many options, and we actually ironically still do have too much free time to have to think about higher order things. So for example, like our parents' generation always having to work, and at least my mom, she worked as a waitress like 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, more or less, maybe besides Sundays. And typically when people are so busy with physically taxing work, you don't really have that opportunity to be depressed or sad or something like that, because you don't have the mental bandwidth. In some ways, it's actually a modern day malady to feel depressed, because typically it happens to intellectuals who have too much free time on their hands, and they start thinking about the meaning of life and stuff. This is where philosophy is important, right? And so some simple remedies is just go to the gym every single day, or go to yoga, core power, whatever, whatever you're into. And I think that daily physical activity is essential to the human body thriving. I mean, you don't have to go every single day, right? There's certain days where I don't go because I gotta do something else, and it's not a big deal either. It goes both ways. One shouldn't feel so stressed or pressured to have to go every day. Ideally, if you could and you want to, you should go every day, but if for some reason you can't, that's totally cool too, right? Just find other things. And so I think that having some sort of more martial physical exercises society would be good. For example, in South Korea, they do the mandatory military draft, where you have to practice military drills, training. You had to go to the army for 2 or 3 years, just in case something bad happens, right? I actually think that it would actually be a good idea in the States. It probably will never pass, because Americans care too much of our individual freedoms. But I would overall think it would be probably a good idea. It gets more people to build camaraderie, more deep, significant nationalism, and also learn useful skills. Even my friends who've in Singapore who've done their mandatory military service, everyone actually rates it as a quite positive experience. But anyways, I think in life, think about how to go harder, more Spartan, less soft.